now is Town Hall for the month of October. I'm your host, Joe Compton, and we are talking about a little bit about art and life and the balance between the two, and keeping ourselves motivated, afloat, keeping ourselves centered to a certain extent. And I have a great group of people here to talk just all about that, as you can see them right there. So we'll have them introduce themselves real quick. We are Sans one, but he may jump in here a little bit later. Who knows? But for now, we'll go with the three that we've got. And I couldn't think of three better people anyway, so I'm real happy that they're all here. So let me have Josh start, and then we'll go down the line and have you guys introduce yourselves.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. I'm glad to be here. My name is Joshua Robertson. I am an international award-winning and best-selling author, most known for the Thrice Nine Legends saga, which is essentially dark fantasy, where it falls in at, but I also sometimes categorize it as epic fantasy. I have about 30 publications or so. Been publishing books now for about 5 years. Been tons of fun. But that's kind of me in a nutshell. Glad to be here. Looking forward to your questions.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Coviello.
Hey, what's up, gang? I'm Jason Coviello. I'm an actor, writer, director, stuntman, photographer, and sound healing yogi. So happy to be here. Happy to share some insights.
Nice. You're already getting some love in the chat, Jason.
How do I see that? How do I know I have love, Joe?
I'm about to show you. So,
what up?
All right, Diana.
All right, I am Diana Robertson, also known as Lillian Oak or LF Oak, also a fantasy author and also owner of collectivetruths.com, which is a new age media consciousness website through which I do readings, blogs, videos. I've sort of stepped away from the writing scene for a while as I'm building up Collective Truths, but that's kind of my main thing here, representing law of attraction and manifestation, consciousness, all that good fun stuff. Awesome.
Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate that we already have a ton of questions already, so I'm real excited about that. So let's just get started and get that going. And we'll start with Rebecca's one of 5 questions. I think she's got here, maybe 3. We love it, Rebecca. Thank you so much. I'm glad you came prepared. I love that. All right. So Rebecca says, how do you keep enough sanity to still function and enough sanity to still write fiction?
So I can tackle
it first. What a question to begin, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. I know for myself, and this is something that I really try to incorporate every day, and that's taking time for myself and self-care in the morning, where I'll get up and after I get all the kids off and off to school, I spend time working out, and then I also spend time meditating. And it's really just taking time to focus on my intention for the day and what it is that I want to accomplish. And then setting off to do that as soon as I'm done with my workout, my meditation. It just kind of sets the tone for the day, like a mental to-do list, and it keeps me on track for what it is that needs to be done. It keeps me essentially my emotions in check, my thoughts in check, etc. And then at the end of the day, I can review over that in my mind when I'm going to sleep and see what I accomplished, see what else may need to be done the next day, make a mental checklist, and then go to sleep. And then it's ready there bright early in the morning the next day to kind of revisit again.
Awesome. Jason, Diana, you want to jump in?
You can go first.
All right. Yeah, I mean, riding that wave for me, yoga, meditation, working out, it is such a way of life. I'm a big fan of pranayama, just allowing myself to consistently be in the consciousness of absorbing life force, absorbing something that supports and sustains me. I mean, as an actor, it's crazy. It's erratic. I mean, I had 2 auditions today, having to learn 10 pages in one audition, 5 pages in another, and both of them were crazy, wild characters. On top of having my 3 kids, we had to get them all ready, and then I had a photo shoot right after that. So a lot going on. But waking up early and taking time to just drop in, receive, breathe, feel supported, really own the different auditions that I was going to do, So before I even stepped into it, I felt like, all right, I'm ready to go. And a lot of that also happened last night, preparation, working through the auditions, just taking time after getting the kids to bed, really carving. It's so often that we tell ourselves we don't have time to do something, right? I mean, it seems to be the habitual pattern. And for me, that was just, I called bullshit on them. Like, I'm just being lazy. I'm just freaking being lazy. Like, if I want to be successful, I have to begin to study when my kids go to bed. And that might be 9 o'clock after I'm done cuddling and I've already fallen asleep with my girl. I don't want to wake up and start working on my audition. But I'm going to spend an hour with it so that when I'm doing it the next day, I'm ready. So taking time to breathe, receive, and just do you.
All
Yeah.
right, Diana?
Everybody who knows me generally knows that I'm already just naturally a very bubbly, very positive person. I think I just sort of wake up with a natural high on life, but it does help that I am super imaginative. I do spend a lot of time daydreaming, which really goes into the whole manifestation thing. I'm sure we'll get to that later, but I do, try to wake up, take my time in the morning, get my coffee or my tea going. I usually watch a video or listen to something, like Abraham Hicks is a big, I'm a big fan of their whole system, and just sort of listening to their messages in the morning just kind of gets me going and getting in that right flow. But I love scents. I have, my incense. And so every morning I'll come into my office and I'll set everything up and open my blinds. I need sunlight to get me going. I get my sunlight going, I get my incense burning and my music playing. And basically I set the atmosphere to put me in the right state of mind and in the right mood to just get my day started. So that's where I start.
Diane, I have to jump in. Can you still hear me? I
Yeah.
also absolutely love Abraham Hicks. Some amazing information if that's new to you. Check it out. Sometimes, so another thing I do, I paint houses for bread and butter sometimes. I'll be sitting there 8 hours just like listening to it. Like, all right, I'm just painting a house and I could be really mad that I'm like cutting in lines, but I'm feeling ignited and alive because of the vibration that I'm staying connected to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and building off of what you said as well about scheduling the time, I think that's what oftentimes we fail to do is we don't value ourselves. We sometimes put other people before ourselves without recognizing that if we don't take care of us, we can't take care of others or take care of the things that need to be done.
Damn.
And so you have to schedule time for yourself. You have to schedule that me time, whether that's meditation, working out, setting the mood in your office, whatever it is, that has to come first. Otherwise, you're going to be essentially playing at the whim of the world around you instead of making the world what you want it to be.
Riding that wave, Dalai Lama, I got to meet him one time, and he said there's a difference between, and I'm paraphrasing here, but this is the nature of it. There's a difference between enlightened selfishness and stupid selfishness. And enlightened selfishness gives you the feeling of, I need to do for me first. If I'm going to serve the world in any capacity, I have to be self-centered to serve myself so that I can be charged and ready to give. So
That's right.
All right, so a little bit more whimsical question here, but Diana actually kind of led us into it. That's why I love our guests, because they always know how to get the next question to the next question. And Diana was talking about her coffee, and so Rebecca asked, "What's your favorite type of coffee?" Or if you're a weirdo who doesn't drink coffee, what's your preferred caffeine intake?
Just any coffee as long as I have cream. I need a little bit of cream or a little bit of milk, just something, and a little cinnamon maybe. Just a little bit though.
I'm a coffee snob. I become a coffee connoisseur. I've got to drink it black, and my favorite is like Ethiopian Yirgacheffe that's got the blueberry notes.
Nice.
That's actually pretty good coffee.
I actually have a similar one. For me, there's I actually have to go to 7-Eleven for some reason because they have a blueberry coffee that I just love. I just love it.
I've never had blueberry coffee. I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, they do. They have like different flavor ones, but that one, for some reason,
Well, I'm very intrigued as to what the 7-Eleven blueberry coffee is compared to like.
well, yeah, yours is
Organic
a little
notes.
darker. Theirs is a little lighter. I like milder coffee, but because I like there's also a Hawaiian hazelnut coffee that I like, but the darker ones I'm not a big fan of. Although, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the dark one.
Yeah, if it's too robust, then I'm not really a fan.
Yeah, I'm actually drinking black coffee right now, which is typically how I drink coffee. But I've cut my
drink it
coffee.
black as well. I don't
Yeah.
do any cream or sugar.
Well, I do like bulletproof coffee, and I like adding like the unsalted butter or whatever to it. That's really, really good. It may sound crazy, but it's delicious. But I've cut my coffee intake a lot over the past 6 weeks or so. In fact, I've not hardly had anything that's caffeinated at all. I've just been drinking water primarily. I drink almost a gallon or a gallon and a half of water a day. Yeah, I have my bottle over here too. That's what I prefer to drink. And I do notice that when you're taking the time to essentially physically work out and mentally get yourself in the right place, and you're drinking something that is not a stimulant like coffee is, you don't really have those crashes. You don't get tired. You don't need that constant feed of caffeine to keep you going throughout the day. I can get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, drink water throughout the day, and still go to bed at 11:30, midnight, and have energy throughout the day without crashing.
Yeah, Josh, I gotta ride that wave, man. I'm the same. I'll have my morning coffee, and then I have to. Every once in a while, I'll do like the midday thing. But if I get a good workout in, and I usually after my workout, it's like a solid 2-hour workout. At the end of it, I'm sitting there in the sauna. I now have a gallon of water that I've drank at least, if not 2. And if I drink coffee at that point, then I'm like buzzing. I'm not sleeping. I'm not recovering, and I can't get to it the next day. So I have to cut myself off.
Yeah, about 6 or 7 in, I'll cut myself off.
6 or 7 starting now.
Right. Yeah. Big day, right? All right. So, to another question here by Rebecca again. She wants to know, how do you keep persistent intruders from messing with your writing time? Is rock salt buckshot a good enough fix?
That sounds good.
That's an easy answer. It's hard to do. You shut off your phone, and you shut off your internet, and you pull up your word processor, whatever you're writing in, and you write, and you just don't look at anything. It's very difficult to do, but that's the answer. You schedule your time, set your time aside for when you're writing, and you refuse to be distracted by any distractions. It's your time. Don't be distracted.
Yeah.
Use headphones or earplugs.
Yeah. Awesome. Sorry, Stevie messaged me. We won't be seeing Stevie tonight, unfortunately, but that's fine. Sorry, so I got distracted. But Jason, do you have anything for me?
He nailed it. I mean, your time is your time. It's so easy, especially like, let me go and check Facebook real quick. Does anybody like me? Now I'm distracted. Like, shut it off. I always say, so we do sound healing concerts at the Botanic Gardens, and this is one of my favorite things to do. And we get to share Tibetan singing bowls, the gong, and the hong with a large group of audience. And I'm like, you know what? We come in here to unplug, and we have to. In today's age, we're so prone to looking at the false light of the phone and having this frequency intrude upon our being, so it takes away our ability to have our connection to real light, and therefore our real light and our spiritual and our real light of our soul getting ignited and inspired. And so if we're not saying no to distractions, we can never truly say yes to our spirit, to our insights, our inner enlightenments.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So here's another question from AF Stewart, and she asks, how do you all deal with stress when life hits you with a curveball?
Nature.
Yeah.
Again, I go for lots of sunlight. I refuse to ever put myself in a dark room. Again, I'm just that naturally positive type of person. If it's not too cold or too hot outside, I'll go outside. I'll walk barefoot in the grass. I'll go, find a local, nature reserve or something, somewhere that I know is generally more quiet and away from the public. But I try to stay outside in the sun as much as possible, because that's just sort of a natural kind of a natural drug to me. But and of course, sleep. When you do need your sleep, you need your sleep. You can't just keep throwing that off or pushing it away or refusing to do it. It's one of the most important ways to heal, one of the best ways to heal. And as much as people tend to, for some reason, hate sleeping these days, it's one of the best things you could really do for yourself. So you don't let that go.
I've had to learn that. That's something that I've had to learn. I was somebody who would stay up all night, and I've always, I don't know, for some reason I've always been an unsettled child. From the moment I was young to now, insomnia hits me, and it's nothing that I have. There's nothing that you can do clinically or medically that's wrong with me or anything like that. It's just something that's natural for me, and so. Settling myself down, using, we've talked about this, binaural beats and things that have allowed my brain to calm down have helped tremendously in that respect and kind of settled me. And so I'm able to get deeper REM sleep and even if it's only 5 or 6 hours, it's still powerful in that respect. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jump in here real quick on a few things. So first, to ride the wave of nature, once again, we're prone to cut ourselves off from nature more today than ever before. The cell phones itself have such a disturbing frequency that can really mess with us. And so to find the time, I'm always barefoot. I'm a bit of a hobbit in that way. But one of my favorite things, put your back up against a tree. Let your spine align with the trunk of a tree. And there's so much transmission that can happen in that. Be a tree hugger, please. Go hug a tree. It is good for you. That just takes stuff out of you and allows you to be much more human. All right. And then the science of sound healing, binaural beats or Tibetan bowls, it is like a reset for the nervous system. So in today's day and age, we're almost all caught up in a static state of fight or flight. The beta is overactive, the beta brainwave. So go, do, do, check. Does anybody like me? Nobody likes me. I have to do something. Wait, hold on, let me check. And so
unspeakable content could be found on the screen.
That's pretty hilarious. So it's overactive, the beta. And the science of sound healing moves us into that alpha theta brainwave, which is that state of deep relaxation and deep rest. It's like a lucid dreaming state. And in that place, you can have a stillness of the nervous system unlike anything else. I've been doing meditation and yoga for 20 some odd years, and sound healing is still one of the most powerful and effective ways to calm that nervous system and therefore de-stress. Because in that stillness, all healing happens.
That's right.
And this is going to echo a little bit about what both of them are saying. But what I hear from my social work background, and folks that know me know that I'm a master social worker, minors in psychology and sociology. And we used to talk a lot with people about what I would consider grounding yourself. And that's what a lot of this has to do with, is that when you hit those high levels of stress, it's finding a way to essentially remind yourself that you're human and get yourself out of that abstract thinking and that fear thinking and that anxiety thinking and recognize the world around you. It could be that you just go and sit on a chair awkwardly, so it's almost painful on your butt when you're sitting, to ground you and remind you that all these thoughts that are up in your head aren't real. They're things that you're worried about that haven't actually come to fruition yet, and you sitting there and thinking about them is probably going to have more of a chance of manifesting them into reality than what you would do if you would focus your energy somewhere else. I know for the last couple of months, I've actually had a lot of bouts of stress, and I don't like to usually admit to myself that I have a lot of stress, but a lot of the work that I've done in the last couple of months is keeping myself grounded, whether it's taking a cold shower, getting on the treadmill and working, meditating, or as both Diana and Jason are suggesting, is getting outside, get barefooted, feel the ground underneath your feet, and just think through the experience of what it feels like, what the smells are around you, what the air tastes like, and these types of things, to bring yourself back down from that euphoric high of essentially looking at the world around you and misinterpreting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Another quick note is we're so prone to keep ourselves comfortable, to do whatever we can to be comfortable, and therefore to avoid struggle. And that's the beauty of like find a way to make yourself sweat every day, get uncomfortable, work out, strain, because in that is the process of grounding. It takes you out of the manic monkey mind, brings you into the now physical. And it's super helpful.
Yeah, I was talking earlier today with somebody about essentially the mastery of the physical and the mental. And if you take time every day to focus on mastery in terms of physical and mental aptitudes for yourself, you're going to find that it's least likely or less likely for you to essentially reach those places where you're not grounded or you can't manage your stress because you recognize the cues from your body.
Yep.
A follow-up question here on the binaural beats. Do they change over time or for seasons? Do you guys find that, or are there certain ones that you go to all the time? How do you guys work with
I
that?
hit the same frequency every time. Mine's like 432. That's my frequency. That's what I look for.
Yeah. I think it generally stays the same. I guess now that I think about it, I would kind of have to study on that. But I generally, I mean, if I'm trying to calm my mind or get myself to, a state of meditation or a calmer state to go to sleep or something, then yeah, I usually go to the one that I know I react best to. But I don't know that actually changes over time. I'm curious myself now. It's a good question.
Is it like working out though? Is it that you get to a threshold and you have to adjust so that your body can you shock yourself a little bit? Because they say in working out sometimes you have to when you get to a certain point you start to get comfortable, you shock your body and do something completely different, and that enables the muscles to learn and engage a little bit more so that you're not hitting a plateau. Is that something that you guys
Jason's
have found?
gone. He is not talking about this.
I was pulling out my fun little Hong.
Whoa.
I'm blessed to own one of these, so this becomes my meditation when I need it too. You guys heard one of these?
Josh, I want one of those.
Good luck getting one. They're kind of extinct.
That's awesome.
So for you, Jason, do your beats change over time? Have you found that? Do you have to adjust sometimes, or is there certain periods of time? And
I'm going to be honest with you. That question's a little abstract to me, and I'm not sure I understand it. I would say that my internal vibrational rhythms, I find that sometimes I need different things to pull me out of when I'm caught up in manic mind mode. If I'm really just like and to be honest, because I've been doing this work for so long, I catch more quickly when I begin to get caught up in the cycle of manic. And so I'm like, all right, I'm being stressed out right now. My kids are triggering me and I'm about to freak out. I'm going to go outside and walk on the grass barefoot and breathe, or I'm going to get my little Hong here and I'm going to play. And then I change. It changes my vibration. I also have a gong, 2 different gongs. And so if I just, go and hit the gong or one of my singing bowls, it's like instantly everything's like, all right, I remember who I am. I'm not going to let this madness take over and be a complete idiot in my life. So the things that serve me, that have always served me, still serve me. The ways in which I, how quickly I recognize it changes. But that's the best way I think I can answer that question.
And that's so important. It's funny because Diana and I sit down and talk about this a lot, about how we ourselves are quantum beings. And the more that we look into quantum physics, we understand that. Right. And we all kind of function at this different vibration and this different frequency. And a lot of it, and Jason may have more on this, is really based on your emotions and what you're feeling and the frequency of your thoughts and how positive those are, which kind of gets into the studies of epigenetics. But if you see that your emotions are moving towards a negative place, whether that's anger or fear or aggravation or what have you, having a mode or a method to bring yourself out of that and start having more gratitude or happiness or showing kindness or compassion and being able to lift your frequency is going to essentially send this signal out to the universe to then have that same frequency be brought back to you. It's like a radio wave. And so when you see yourself kind of going to a place of negative thoughts or negative feelings, you want to have set things in place, whether it's walking outside or playing, I don't know, you called it the gong, and being able to reset that and bringing yourself back to a place of a positive frequency so that you can then receive that back from the universe.
Right.
This is so crazy metaphysical. I know we don't usually get on here and talk about that, Joe, but the research around us being quantum beings is, I think, solidifying more and more each day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really some of the most important stuff for us to look at because, you know, as an actor, as a writer, I mean, I look at your titles, you obviously dive deep into the dark. And so you have to be in that brainwave. You have to be in that emotional state to write from there. But you obviously have to know who you are authentically as a being of light, or have something to charge you. I'm talking specifically to Joshua and to myself, but to be able to charge who you are, or to know who you are, so you can come back from writing that. Really
You have to bring yourself back out of it. I've written stories before that were took me to such a dark place that I had to abandon them for periods of time to bring myself back out of it and make sure that I wasn't allowing the story itself to consume me. I find it very important to write about the human psyche, both the light and the dark aspects of that. I think it brings awareness to us, whoever reads it, to be able to kind of understand how far on the spectrum that can go. But yeah, as any artist, you have to recognize your limitations and make sure that you're being true to yourself and keeping yourself in a place that's going to be healthy in reality and not in the fiction or the art or whatever it is that we're putting together.
Yeah, I'm always telling artists we have to find a way to do something that serves ourselves, because this can be such a roller coaster. You know, if I'm relying on booking a job to make me feel good, you know, 95% of the times I'm going to be feeling bad, because if we're booking 5% of the time as an actor, you're actually doing good. It's crazy. And there's a lot of characters that we'll dive into that are dark and dangerous. And I'm prepping for one right now who is a total sociopath. I mean, he's a wildcat sociopath, and that's not who I am. So having a practice of light, of things that charge me and allow me to know who I am, allow me to dive deeper into that darkness and feel comfortable. It's not who I am. I'm good.
Well, and Joe, we're going to take over your show. It's a process too. It's I imagine in terms of studying for a part that you're going to play, there's a methodology to it. You essentially have a blueprint that you're following. It's a plan that you're looking at, that you're referring back to and referencing before you jump into that. And I know for myself, when I write, it's the same way. That's why I'm such a planner when I write a book, because I then have a blueprint in front of me that tells me how the story is going, and I'm expressing the story on paper and what it is that I've done in my plan. But it's not me. It's the plan that I'm essentially seeing come, that I'm executing. It's not me, myself, as the character, or becoming that character.
Yeah.
That might have been the coolest way you've ever explained being a plotter ever.
Thank you, Joe. It was bound to come out. Bound.
We've done 100 of these.
It does, though. It provides a veil between me and the story. So then, just for
context, for Jason's sake, because Jason hasn't been privy to these. I'm a pantser, and Josh is a plotter, and he and I go back and forth quite a bit on this issue and talking about.
What did you say you were?
A pantser, somebody who writes off the top of their head, that doesn't plan it out, doesn't plot it out, doesn't outline. Yeah. I just write, which Jason knows because I've done it several times for things that we've done together. And so.
And I plot the entire story. I break down every character. I have an entire personality thing essentially put together for them. I put my book into 3 acts. I mark all of my different main points, secondary points, my tertiary points, and I look at the climax and everything. So the entire book is plotted before I ever start writing.
Let's do a screenplay.
I'm a plancer.
Nice.
Kind of wherever my mood is.
Very nice. I wanted to throw in a question here. I do have one more from Rebecca, but before we get to Rebecca, I wanted to throw in a question from my number one fan of our audience. That would be this guy right here, Mr. Joe Compton. Yes, I'm cheating. I have a question for everybody on the group there, and thank you for doing this. For people like me, it's very important, and I really appreciate it. But my question is, so the dreaded imposter syndrome, how over time have you guys learned to navigate that and go through that, and does it still affect you, even though you guys seem to have a grasp on who you are and where you're going?
Being an artist is, I think in any capacity has its moments of light and its moments of dark. And I don't know that ever really goes away. I know that there's times where I feel like I'm on cloud nine and everything's working great, and I know who I am, and I know the stories that I'm writing, and I feel very comfortable in what it is that I'm expressing and the message and the themes that I'm delivering to my audience. And then there's times where you get that whole onslaught of bad reviews or people that don't really understand your work or what you're doing, and you feel like, do I really belong here? Should I be here? And you kind of walk through that shadowy path of whether or not this is where you're supposed to be at and whether or not it's what you're supposed to be doing. So I don't think it ever really goes away. But I think that those that find success in what they do have a way to pull themselves out of that, or to recognize that there's many different forms of art, and your expression of it doesn't really have a grading system or a metric system or some sort of way to measure it. It's what it is that you're delivering to the world, and it's okay in whatever way that you want to deliver that.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's really said the right way, but I don't think that, I think that real artists realize that your work doesn't need to be measured. It doesn't need to be compared to anybody else. Really, if I were to say it in any way, it's that your art should only be compared to your art.
Mhm.
And anyone that is working on any project knows that their next project's always better than their last one, and their next project's always better than the last one. As long as you're continuing to improve, that should be your place of measurement.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever actually let myself be affected so much by other people's opinions. I mean, even from childhood, I've always been that way. But I kind of see life and my art and my creative side and my emotional side and my spiritual side. Everything, I see it as one giant adventure, and it's just I try to see the fun in everything. There's always a different perspective to look at whatever you're doing. There's always the negative perspective. There's always a positive perspective. There's always, different angles to look at, whatever you're doing, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're planning. If you see it negatively, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective, and you can always switch that. It's all really just in your head. And that's basically how I live my life. It's all in my head. Whatever you think about me is your business. I'm not in your head. It doesn't matter to me what, somebody else might think. If it's not, something that's changing my routine or affecting me in some tangible, in-person, live, physical way. If it's just thoughts, it's just thoughts. You can do amazing things with thoughts, but your thoughts are yours and mine is mine, and I'm going to keep going on my adventure.
That's so funny, because Diane and I were listening to Abraham Hicks this morning, and there was a similar thing where she was like, that's the wrong way of thinking. Just live in the moment. Like, that's where you need to be at right now. Stop thinking about all these other things about what's going on around you. Stop questioning it. Just live in the moment.
Find your vortex.
Yes.
As somebody who's a seasoned actor, Jason, who's done quite a bit of work, I know that early on in your career, you had a harder time getting out of roles than you do probably now. So how did you overcome that? What was some of the things that you did that helped you?
I think, Joe, you know this pretty well, because I really gave myself to your movie Out of Range, and the character of Jack was one of the first real intense characters that I had to give myself to. And for those of you that don't know, I played a paranoid schizophrenic who kills his girlfriend in splatter painters because he doesn't know that splatter painting. I have one here. Oh my God, I still have that painting, Joe, that I've made for Jack. Anyway, and so the diving into it and then the coming out of it, I think earlier on, it was a lot harder to separate whom I was from like the role. And I really struggled with whether this was my path. Did I want to give myself to some of these darker energies and really embody what it means? And it just, as I've evolved, it has dawned on me that this is absolutely my path, that I have to just remove my judgments. This is what I want. It's what ignites me in such a deep way. And whether I'm achieving success at it in a big way or not, it no longer matters. It's no longer an imposter syndrome. This is just who I am. It's what I do. I'm an artist at my core. Whether I'm writing, whether I'm splatter painting, whether I'm being an actor, it fills me. It makes me feel good. And that has given me the discipline to go at it in a more intense way than ever before. Does that answer that question for you?
Absolutely, it does. That's awesome. Great. All right, so let me get back to the questions of real fans here, because that guy was a fake. That other fan was a phony. All right. So Rebecca asked, how do you achieve that when you're lamed up and in pain? So how do you achieve centering and consciousness and all that? And do you just wait out the pain? And she's talking about physical pain. So if you guys, I mean, you were just talking about your shoulder. I don't know if we were on the air during that time, but you were talking about you had a torn rotator cuff, Jason. And
yeah, Rebecca, I can definitely speak to this in a big way. So pain is one of the things that has motivated me the most in my life to achieve personal healing and to want to be a healer for others. So my mother, she was laid up in a hospital bed when I was 14 years old. She had her spine fused and she had spinoluthesis. And she was in tremendous physical pain. And it's the first time that I really found myself wanting to do more and be more. And I also suffered with a lot of different physical pain, having some lower back issues and shoulder issues. And I'm a stuntman as well. And so, I beat myself up quite a bit. And I find I've really come to the place, and this is kind of a little bit of what I was talking about earlier, is that we have this feeling, this thought that we're not supposed to struggle, that we're not supposed to be okay. And so we don't have a good, and this is general, right? This is a general blanket statement and I apologize for it, but we don't have a good relationship with pain. We haven't been taught how to let pain be a vehicle to move us. And as a yoga teacher, I teach people, find a place where you feel discomfort, be with that discomfort and breathe into it. Let that breath resolve that discomfort. And so if we can find a way to be with our discomfort, it can be that which gives us the most life force. Pain is often a place of excess powerful energy. And if we can be with it, we can tap into it. And it's like a treasure chest. You open up this treasure chest and all of this life force bubbles up as an inspiration. It may not mean that you ever fully remove or out of pain, but you can have a new relationship with it that can then give you something instead of I'm fucked. It's that consciousness that takes you out of being able to move forward.
Okay. Josh, Diana, you want to tackle this?
Some people that are in the audience probably know this about me, but about 9 years ago, I had burnt 40% of my body. It was 18% first degree burns, and the rest was second degree burns. And that was probably the most painful thing that I'd ever experienced in my life. And much like what Jason's talking about, instead of running from that, I somewhat embraced it. And I spent a lot of time visualizing my body healing and where I was going to be going next and what it is that I wanted to accomplish. And at no point during that did I think that I was going to be disfigured or incapable of moving forward in life. I just seen what it was going to be like afterwards. And I find myself very lucky. I never had any skin grafts. I fully healed. I don't have a scar anywhere on my body. Ooh. And I healed in 3 weeks completely from that. When the doctor said it was supposed to take closer to 9 to 12 weeks, 3 weeks I went back and my skin had grown back. And I was healed from that. And I think that I know there's different types of pain. There's different medications. There's different advice from doctors. But the human body is an amazing thing. And I think that with the right mindset and the right focus and the right determination, that pain is a thing that can be overcome. I used to always say that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain is something that we all have to go through. And I think that can be something that we can learn from, and that, like Jason said, embrace it and see where you can go from it.
Yeah, I think it's when I've been in pain that I've had the most emotional, mental, and spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Just because I spend so much time in my mind when I'm in pain or in some kind of discomfort, my go-to is to calm myself, to quiet myself, quiet my mind, and find that functional place. Even if it, if it still doesn't mean that I can, be up and wandering around, there's still some kind of healing that you can do even when you are, bedridden or in such physical pain that you can't move. I did a lot of that when I was first diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis a couple years ago. I pretty much couldn't walk for several months. I had to, if I sat on the floor somehow, I had to crawl to a wall to get myself back up. And I spent a lot of time just in my head trying to find my own inner strength to be able to get up and work through it. But yeah, I think that's just my main takeaway is just that when there's pain, when there's discomfort, there's still a way to function and to quiet yourself and to find some way to heal from the inside out until, externally and physically you can get up and go again.
Do you guys find that your artistry helps you work through that as well? Do you guys manifest that through some of your art and things that you do?
I think I've definitely relived it through my art. I think that there's lessons that were learned from it that I replay through my art and I tell, and I kind of find that same strength to put in my characters. But yeah, like I think that it's just having a different focus for what you want to do. This sounds silly. I know that it does, especially for people that aren't really believers in the spiritual or in the metaphysical, but I always kind of see pain as a message of the universe to realign your intention and realign your focus. And so I never really take it personally or see it as a dead end. I see it as essentially a diverged path. And I can decide to either essentially wallow in my misery, or I can see myself in terms of going straight into the pain and fixing it and finding a new direction to head to. And so in my art, I think that that's something that I do. It's something that I definitely do in my stories. It's something that all my characters have to face as well. But it's something that I've essentially, I guess, in terms of art, I put it back into my stories. So it's lessons that people can read and then hopefully gain from it.
That's awesome. All right. So another question. Did you want to say something, Jason?
I wanted to see if Diane had something. I'll briefly touch on that. I think as artists, as all of us, the one thing that we have access to is we have access to be able to move out of the sedentary state of mind that can be a trap. And pain can be a sedentary state of mind that is this stagnation. It is this thing, my shoulder, I can't move out of this intense pain. And being an artist, somewhat of meditation, somewhat of a yogic practice, we have the ability to transcend this by going into an imaginary place. And from that place, so much healing can create. You can move beyond the sedentary. You can create your world of magic as you want it. Mm-hmm. So the artistry in that capacity helps.
Diana, did you want to add?
Well, I can't be artsy when I'm in pain. So that's usually where I go into my mind, and not in a negative state, but that's usually when I go into that self-healing sort of mode. But I mean, if that was at all part of that question of, if being artsy is at all helpful, through pain, I personally am not very creative if I'm in enough pain to actually be affected, because I have an extremely high pain threshold. I don't really recognize that something is wrong until it almost kills me. So, and I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, every time I've really had something severe, it was already within days that if I didn't have treatment, or it was a miracle that I survived or something, because I should have been treated already for, whatever it was, just because I don't feel, I guess, pain until it's really, really bad.
Yeah, we were really scared for you earlier this year. You had a monster scare earlier this year. That was crazy.
You were scared, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the one, yeah, the one bronchitis situation, the laryngospasms. That was probably one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's still dealing with that. But I mean,
She's
it's
getting better.
Nice.
it got better.
So then we have another question here from Spilling Ink Show. Katie Solitis asks, manifestation, where are you desperately trying to work with the law of attraction and maintain positivity as you work toward a goal, but end up manifesting everything opposite of what you intended? So what do you guys think about manifestation and putting that out there? And is that a part of your process?
Well, I immediately go to, I'm assuming that in that sense, something went, utterly wrong or negative or something. But what I've learned with manifestation, if it's something that you're trying to manifest that's really going to affect your life or change your life on a large scale, you're going to have chaos. You're going to have something break down and die before you're actually given that real opportunity and that real pathway to manifest what it is that you want. So you might be in that process of experiencing this sort of breakdown, this destruction, or this chaos, or death of something, to lay out your intentions on a grander scale. So that's kind of what I had learned, that the worse that things seem to get, as long as you're practicing manifestation, you're practicing, your effort into the law of attraction, you're gonna get it. It's just, it might take some time, depending on how large of a manifestation you're really trying to create. But it usually does come with chaos and stress and struggle. So don't expect things to just flow smoothly and be happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, manifestation it's a tricky one, man. Because, and this is why I love Abraham, because it's about vibration. If you look at it from the sense that we're radios and we're transmitting something, it's like, all right, what is the station? What do you naturally attune to? Are you like heavy metal, rage and chaos, and that's what's coming out of you? You're getting more of that. And so you might be in a place of wanting to have a certain thing, but your vibration is so far from that you have to find something that you can resonate with. And it's about like really authentic. And this is why I like the practice of yoga meditation, authentically tuning into, how am I being? What am I transmitting? What am I emoting? Because if I'm saying I want financial freedom, right? Let's just put that out there. But I'm always saying, man, I fucking wish money will come to me, man. If money will come to me, if I just want money to come to me, if money will come to me, that energy is a lack mentality. It is a limited mentality. So you're manifesting the frequency of what you're really feeling and thinking versus, I'm wanting money, man. I'm telling the universe I want money. Yeah, well, you're telling the universe you want money because you don't have it. And that's what you're putting out, that I don't have. So like attracts like, you're drawing more I don't have. And the universe is showing up in that way to say, yep, you don't have it. Now, here's another debt that you got to pay, or here's a ticket on your car, versus how do I tune in, charge up, feel good, feel empowered, and live in a way toward that? How can I be generous? Just generous today. How can I feel kind and compassionate, as though I'm a happy, loving, giving billionaire right now? Right now, this is the state in which I'm living. Now, how do I be generous in that? And so it's a subtle fine tuning. It's like, there's a little static here. Fucking tune it in. Tune it in. I can't get all the way over to a happy, loving, giving billionaire, but I can get to, all right, I feel good right here being compassionate and sharing some gratitude. And then you ride that wave.
How dare you take my Slipknot away from me? Yeah, metal.
Hey, it's right at the right time,
Yeah. Josh, do you have something to add to that?
I'm really in the same realm of where Jason and Diane are. I agree with what they're saying. I know that Katie's got that follow-up question about manifesting. How do you get over those negative thoughts? And one of the things that we know in psychology is that we're only really in control of a small portion of what our thoughts are. We know that about 60% of our thought processes, this comes from the studies in epigenetics, about 60% of our thoughts come from our DNA. About 10% of them come from our experience. About 10% of them come from the environment which we were raised in. And then we have control over the remaining 20 to 30%, give or take, of what our thoughts are. And what a lot of people do is that they allow the part that they have control over to completely just be swept away by all these other things that kind of influence how we think, instead of taking a lot of control over their thinking and taking active time every day to have positive affirmations, to say the things that they want, to focus on the good things in their life. And so negative thoughts tend to run pretty rampant in a lot of folks' lives. And so in order to have control and get rid of those negative thoughts, you just really got to put in the time. You got to wake up every morning, and as silly as it sounds, get in front of the mirror and say 5 things you like about yourself, 5 things that you want to accomplish that day, 5 positive things that you're grateful for in your life, and push forward with it and do it every day. And you'll find that over time, you're going to gain more and more control of your thinking. I know this firsthand. I mean, Albert Ellis has the 12 irrational beliefs. They're excellent. Katie, I know you personally. You want me to train you in them and how to change your thoughts for the 12 irrational beliefs? I will do that. I've done that training for literally 300 to 500 people in my life on how to change your thinking. I did it for myself when I was in college. And those 12 irrational beliefs really rule a lot of people's lives and lead them down a negative path.
Josh, let me ride that wave a little bit and put a different perspective on that. So really think about something that we forget about is our emotional body. Our emotional body, our emotions very often stimulate our thoughts. And this goes back to vibration. So if we haven't done something to ignite the way we feel, we're going to stay in that swampy, static space, man. All right, yeah, life is great. I feel good. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm beautiful. I'm happy. But I'm feeling bullshit, shitty. Right? So, but if we get up and we do something crazy, I love Tony Robbins, he'll be like, I jump in, he does a cold plunge first thing in the morning. Do a cold plunge and try to stay in a state of static, get up and do jumping jacks and be crazy. Do something to ignite a sense of happiness and freedom inside yourself. And when you're in that space of emotional elatedness, it charges you, your thoughts instantly change. It's really difficult to have a negative thought when you're doing something that you love that makes you feel good. So go to something that ignites you emotionally first, and then manifest. Then I'm all love, I am all light, because it's a lot easier.
I hear this. So Diana is amazing at this. And this is why I love having her in my life, because she pushes me to get out of the trenches. But all of us get in this rut where we just go through this almost automatic pattern day in and day out of doing the exact same thing. What I'm hearing from you, Jason, is you need to change it up. Like, get out there and do something crazy and change your direction and change your purpose. And whether you need to go to Walmart and ride the cart through the aisles, you need to go do something that changes. Take yourself out of your comfort zone. When you're out of your comfort zone, you're going to see change happen.
It's also very important to recognize that negative emotions are natural. They're not something that you have to be afraid of. You have to actually train yourself to allow negative emotions, negative thoughts to come in, recognize them, see that they're there, but breathe them back out.
Yes.
Let them go. It's you can't really recognize positive without negative. You can't really see blessing without suffering. You can't, it's light and dark. You can't live a life without negativity and without negative thoughts. And it is, it's different when every thought that comes out of, your mind is negative or something. And that's where, you want to do this, shock yourself out of it or train yourself out of it. But you don't have to freak out about every negative thought, especially when you're trying to manifest something and you're putting that energy and that effort into manifestation. Don't freak out over a negative thought that comes into your head, because it's natural. It's okay. You got to recognize it. It's just part of who we are as humans, and it's not going to kill you. You're not going to manifest every negativity just because it pops up.
This may sound a little counterintuitive, but meditation is the path to self-discovery. I think that everyone should meditate. It should be mandatory for everyone to go through this path. And in meditation, when you're first learning to do it, you're going to find that your mind wanders and it jumps and it goes all over the place and negative thoughts enter your head. And this is what Diana's talking about, is that you recognize the thought, you see it, and you let it pass, almost like it's drifting by in a river, and you don't own it. And I think sometimes in our day-to-day, we try to grasp a hold of every thought in our head and try to essentially take that and say that that's part of our identity. And every thought that you have is not part of your identity. Every single person on the planet has negative thoughts. Every single person envisions negative things. Every person has these terrible things that if you were to share your fantasies with other people about things that you've imagined, they'd throw you in a loony bin. And that's part of being human. That those thoughts don't define you. It's just part of being human. And through meditation, you recognize that you don't have to essentially grasp a hold of all of these things and put them into your box of who you are. You can just let them pass and then redirect your thinking to something more positive.
Beautifully said, Josh. And once again, this is about being comfortable with not being comfortable. So I have to, in this moment, teach such a short little yoga thing. All right, ready? Here we go. My leg's out straight. I don't know if you can see it. There's a pose called Janu-Shirshasana, or head to knee pose, right? So you're in a yoga class, you hear head to knee pose, and you got usually 3 different responses. You got like the go-getters, like head to knee. I'm getting my head to my knee because Jimmy's got his head to his knee, and I'm not letting him do it without me doing it. So we got that, or we got head to knee. No, that's ridiculous. It hurts right here, my leg being straight, so I'm just going to back off a little bit, right? Or here's what I suggest. Head to knee pose. I don't have to get my head to my knee. Now, I know I can get my head to my knee. I can, but I'm going to be honest and authentic right now. Right now, I'm feeling tension in my hamstring right here. So I don't have to go any further. I can be right here. Be with the discomfort, be with the pain, breathe, bringing life force, bringing vitality. And as I breathe, it literally massages that pain away. So this practice is teaching me like, yep, I might put myself into an uncomfortable position, but that uncomfortable sensation, that negative mind, that negative thought, it's not going to take over me. If I sit with it, it's actually unleashing energy, stored up energy, which is pain, which is now surging through my whole body. And as I continue to breathe, it gets released. Oh, and guess what? I can access a deeper place. I become more intimate with myself. I move into myself. It's a simple, amazing practice. We should all be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. But what are your thoughts on stillness? Do you feel like there's a time that you have to calm yourself a little bit and feel like that it should be mandatory that you have a moment of stillness in your life every day?
I think we should. It'd be good for us, but I don't think anybody, even the best of us, really stops and recognizes, oh, did I have that today? Or
I'm asking the 3 people who have 11 children between them about stillness.
I mean, for me, that's what meditation is. And I talked to Diana about this. There's sometimes where I meditate and it's almost like I feel separate from the world, like I don't belong, like I'm apart from everything, that I'm in my own space and the world may be going on around me, but I'm completely separate from all of that. And it's just me and my reality and what's going on right there in my mind. And that's it. And everything else just kind of disappears. For me, I like to do that every day. I like to take that time and just embrace stillness. And in a chaotic lifestyle, as you know, I live, Joe, with the kids running around and all the projects Diana and I work on and the different ventures that we go down, the stillness in of itself is uncomfortable. But I have found that I can embrace that. And I think it's something that's worth embracing. Do you
meditate with your children? Have you tried to sit them down and get them to meditate?
Yes, I have. Yep. Yeah, we sit down as a family.
Exercise of futility, or is that an exercise in patience?
I've taken them through guided meditations. I've taught them how to meditate in terms of just leading it themselves and focusing on breath. The older ones, of course, have a lot more focus on it. Some of them are better at it than others. But meditation to me it's like a muscle. It's like essentially strengthening the muscles in your brain and in having that focus, and it takes time. I know I started meditating when I was probably about 13 years old. That's when I started the practice. No one ever told me about it. That's probably from watching too many martial arts movies when I was a kid. And I would go out there in the field and sit and I'd meditate. I'd go out there after school and I'd go sit down in the field and I would close my eyes and focus on my breath. Next thing I know, I'd be opening my eyes, and it was 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. 3 hours had passed, and I didn't even know what the time went. And I'd have to go running back to the house, and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I forgot that like supper happens." But it was a wonderful experience then. I found calm and peace in that then, and I find it now.
Yeah, and Joe, I used to live in the place where I had to have stillness every day to like really solidify that frequency in my life for what it fed me, for being able to hear the inspirations of the soul. And now sometimes in my life, I'm not always having to carve out that time where I have like undisturbed stillness, but I find that because I've perpetuated that frequency in my body, I can literally have that calm amongst a storm. I can tap into that stillness because I know it. I know the frequency. So I can have that experience while there's stuff going on. So getting that in the body and understanding it serves so well. And that, once again, in yoga, it's like, I can be freaking out because I'm feeling pain right now and I run away from it, or I can be with it. And so then when somebody cuts me off, I don't have to have that like knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, I'm going to kill this guy. I can just be like, oh, good. They maybe need to be somewhere faster than I do. Let me be still.
I seen that Spilling Ink show, Katie, had put up there that she could not silence the mind to meditate. And I completely disagree with that. She says, never could silence the mind to meditate, but taking time out to stretch for a bit, it helps so much, which I think that stretching is awesome too. But I think that anybody can silence the mind to meditate. I think that people sometimes expect to go from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100, just like that with meditation. And you start with 3 minutes. You move to 5 minutes. You have to understand the process of the mind is going to jump. And Buddhism teaches us really well about the 8 different steps that it goes through to really reach a state of meditation. And for some people, it takes 20, 30 years to really master where you want to get at with meditation. I'm certainly not there. I think I'm like on level 4 or 5. And that's after almost 15 years of meditating regularly. It takes time to really be able to control the mind and the focus. And you can't just expect that you're going to sit down and meditate and your mind's not going to wander. It's going to wander.
I did meditation with Jason and Chris Ann. I've done them, millions of them with them, but I did one with them about, I don't know, this is about 15 years ago. I don't even know if Jason remembers. It was a 35-minute one, and I hadn't meditated in a very long time, so it was like the first time I meditated in forever. I fell asleep about 5 minutes in. I was snoring.
Yeah.
which is
and my friend next to me like nudged me because I was snoring because he couldn't get centered.
Yeah.
And that's normal. I've led meditations in psych wards. I've led meditations in residential facilities. I've led meditations for the U.S. Air Force when I worked on base. And I put people to sleep every single time. And it's hilarious when you got men in uniform that are suddenly snoring all around the room in the middle of a presentation that I'm giving on meditation. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and it's a big illusion. It's a big illusion, and it's this ridiculous story that we tell ourselves that we have to have complete stillness of our mind. It's called the monkey mind for a reason. It jumps all over.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're meditating for 10 minutes and you've got 30 seconds where there's like no thought happening, wow,
You did it.
Waheguru, good for you.
Yep.
And also, there's many different forms of meditation. Kundalini is an amazing yoga practice where there's a lot of active meditation. So you're doing something. Satanama. So some of those can be helpful. It doesn't all have to be just perfect stillness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to say this was the perfect group to have this discussion. I'm really so blessed with all of these beautiful people here. And I'm going to give them a chance to tell you where you can find them and go seek them out and talk to them. They're always open. The one cool thing about what I know about these 3 individuals here is that they're very open to discussing this all the time. And they're very much, they want to help you. And Diana does it for a living. So go definitely seek Diana out. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was to help get the word out about what she's doing, because what she's doing is amazing out there. And I'm so glad that we had this conversation today. Thank you guys so much for that. Let me go. I'm going to do the reverse, or actually, I want Diana to be the last one to tell us about herself. So, Jason, why don't you start and tell everybody where they can find you and who you are?
Cool. So, like I said, I do a variety of things. JC Artistry is my photography business. JasonCoviello.com. You can find me as an actor. You can find me IMDb. I'm on Instagram under JC Artistry. My wife and I have a wellness center, thehealingspace.biz, where we do yoga and sound healing and Reiki and massage and aesthetics. And we perform sound healing concerts for a large group of people, usually about 200 people at the Denver Botanic Gardens. We've got 8 of them coming up. If anyone happens to be in Denver in December, 8 different concerts, just go to Denver Botanic Gardens and look up Tibetan Bowls concert. So some of the ways you can find me and reach out. Love to stay connected.
Nice. And Josh?
So if you're interested in reading my books, you can go to my website at robertsonwrites.com and see all the stuff that I have published there. I have a lot of stuff on audiobook as well. I'm actually taking a short stint away from writing fiction and looking at doing some nonfiction works. So if you stick around and follow me on my social media, which is all Robertson Writes as well, whether it's Twitter or Instagram, etc., then you can possibly catch some of the nonfiction stuff that I'll be writing that's actually related to this topic. And I will have some other announcements probably in the next 6 months or so. I'm not going to talk about those right now, but they will also be related to this. But otherwise, if you want help with any of the things we've been talking about tonight and you're really focused, I'm going to defer you to my wife because she gets paid for it. And we have mouths to feed.
And hopefully in 6 months' time, you'll consider coming on Going Now and breaking some news for us. Come on?
I think that we might come on with the full group of people that are involved in this project. So as long as you have room for about 7 of us.
Of course, I always have room for you, Josh, and all you're doing. Of course, absolutely. And I want to say on the record here, while we're live and out there, that yes, everybody wants you to write a memoir. So write the damn thing. Stop asking people if you want to read it. We all want to read it, and I know I speak for the audience that's out there. So write the damn thing already. All right. All right, Diana.
All right, I'll try to make this somewhat brief. The best place to find me outside of Facebook, my website is collectivetruths.com. That is, it's a consciousness and new age media website. It's also where I book my services. I do empath coaching for people who, are highly sensitive, have, issues just grounding themselves or, learning how to meditate or being able to quiet the mind, exactly what we're talking about here. I do some coaching in that realm of things. I do oracle sessions. I do actual oracle readings similar to tarot, but it's less, I guess, of that magical feeling of, fortune telling. And it's more about paths and outcomes. It's where we lay out your situation. We look at the likelihood of where you're heading, what other options you might have or other paths you might have to, achieve your ultimate goal, whatever it is, you're trying to achieve in the end, as your own end result. I try to sort of help you navigate through stresses, through conflicts, through, whatever kind of situations, life situations that come up. I also work with intuitive children and teens, kids who seem to be also highly sensitive or gifted. Some people call them psychic kids. I have had a lot of experiences in my own life growing up, and I am really good with kids and with teens, and I'm really good with connecting with people in general. So if you do want to discuss, something or actually book something, you can go through collectivetruths.com. Otherwise, I am all on Facebook, and I'm trying to be more active on Twitter again. I am kind of bad with that, but that's Collective Truths, but without an E. It's COLLECTIV and then Truths. So Collective without the last E there. Apparently somebody else took the handle already. But but that's where I am. Instagram, Facebook, and collectivetruths.com.
It's all right. We're going to Liam Neeson them.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and I'm Joe Compton. As you know, this is Going Now. Obviously, you're here, so you know where we are and who we are. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. And with that, this town hall will be closed. I thank my guests again very much for being here, and thank you to our wonderful chat. who had some incredibly insightful and beautiful questions to ask our guests here. And if you do have questions, if you're watching this after the fact, please post them in the comments, and I will make sure that these guys can go back and give you some answers to those questions if you do have a specific question you want to ask. With that being in mind, remember that it's always time to go indie now. And with that, we are done. Thank you, everybody.
Much love.
Thank you.